Welcome to Hometown Heroes. This is Rick Irving with my co-host Mary Staffeld. And Mary and I, when we think about the heroes, we think about World War II, Vietnam, Korea, uh, Iraq, and Afghanistan. But today, we have a special treat to have Heather Flannery. And Heather's a first grade school teacher in the Granbury ISD. She's a historian, and she's got the distinction to be the wife of a direct descendant of David and Elizabeth Crockett, and the mother of a direct descendant of David and Elizabeth Crockett. So, Heather, welcome to Hometown Heroes. We're so pleased to have you on our podcast.
So amazing,
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, our paths have crossed often over the last 5 or 6 years through cemetery at Acton, right outside of Granbury. That's where Elizabeth Crockett is buried. And we have some connections with the Elizabeth Crockett chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And also we have the Texas Hero Foundation that I've done some photography work for in the last several years. And so it's such a thrill to be me as a Texan to really learn more about Texas history than I learned when I was in the fourth grade. So tell us a little bit about how all this happened. You know, you're from New Jersey, and all of a sudden you ended up down in Texas. So just kind of give us a little.
Well, so I grew up in New Jersey, just a small town. It was right over by the Watchung Hills, which are some hills in New Jersey that overlook not only New Jersey, New Brunswick area, but you can also see Staten Island, and on a nice clear day, you can see the New York City skyline. So I grew up with a lot of Revolutionary War history around me. My family loved to travel. We loved history. And we would go and visit places all the time. My grandmother was a native of Staten Island, and so she'd drive me into the city all the time, and we just live the city life for a day and then drive back home. So growing up there was lots of fun. It's very busy up there, different life than down here for sure. But then I went to school at Georgian Court College, which is down in South Jersey. The history there is it's a DuPont estate. So the DuPont family was a back like a tycoon back in like the 20s and stuff. So he had donated his estate to the Sisters of Mercy, and that's where I ended up going to college. So I was in this beautiful college campus with sunken lagoons and Italian gardens and stuff. And I just loved, being on that campus. And nearby is the McGuire Air Force Base. And so, we would get together with the guys over at the Air Force Base and have a party. And so I met Errol that way. And we were dating for a while, and once he got out of the Air Force, he moved back home to Texas. I finished my second year of college and decided to come back down here. It was a lot cheaper. College tuition was a lot cheaper. I was paying a lot up there for a private school, so I thought it was the best choice for me. And they had a really great art history program, and actually the professor was from New Jersey as well. And so I had called ahead of time and we talked, and it just seemed like a great fit for me. So I ended up moving away from my family. I was 18. But I was always pretty adventurous that way. So I moved down to Texas and finished my degree in art history from Texas Women's University. And then we just kept moving until we finally ended up back here in Texas. So we had to spend some time away, but but we came back. We couldn't wait to come back.
What was Errol?
TWU, that's a great college too, but it had to be a little bit of a culture shock because my
It
culture
was.
shock from being in the North to being in the South, that was a pretty big culture shock.
It was. It
Yeah.
was. It took a while to get used to. There's things that you grow up with that you're used to, like well, good Italian food was one of those. I miss all the good Italian food up there. Um, and but just being able to shop anywhere for anything, you don't have that as much down here. But honestly, the people down here are just so much friendlier.
Oh yeah. And when you say shop, so I moved here originally in '86 when I got off active duty, and there still had the blue law, so you couldn't even go to the store on Sundays and buy anything. So unless you were going for like a necessity, like diapers or milk, there was like stores weren't even open. So it was a real culture shock, that because when I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, you could go anywhere, anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even back in the 80s. But shoot, you get down here, it's a whole different world at that time.
It sure would be.
Yeah, so I understand when you say, you could shop there for anything, and then you get here and you're like, yeah.
Was he from the Granbury area, or his family was from?
Yeah, he's an Air Force kid, so he grew up all over the place, but his grandparents on his mom's side are from Granbury. So Elizabeth and David Crockett, they had their first son was Robert Crockett, and he moved in the 1850s, I believe, with his mom and some family members as well to Granbury, Texas. And ever since then, some of the Crockett's have lived here, and so that's where Errol is from.
Well, did Elizabeth got some land, didn't she? After
She did, yes.
After David died,
She got some land. Yes, she had to, and I love this story because it just shows you how little money they had back then and what the cost of things was and how unfair things are as well. She was awarded, I think it was like 1,200 acres of land, and in order to pay the surveyor, she had to give half of it to him.
Wow.
So yeah, like they didn't, the Crockett's didn't have a lot of money. And so in order to pay them, she had to pay them off with land. But to give up half of that land, it seems like a lot.
It does. And how many children did they have together?
They had 3 kids together. So Robert was the oldest.
And which one of the children is Errol a descendant of?
He's a descendant of Robert.
Okay.
Him and his wife had a child, Ashley Crockett. And then Ashley had Gladys. Gladys had Ken Hendricks, who is Errol's grandfather, and then Lori is his mom. So
okay, and I've met her before.
Yes,
haven't I?
You've met her before.
She's
also on the Texas Heroes Foundation board.
Okay. Yeah. And so once you moved down here, I guess you already kind of had been studying up a little bit about Texas history whenever you met Errol.
Just a little bit. At that point, we were still fairly new in our relationship when I first moved down here. The second time we moved back, we had a lot more experience. He had started getting involved with the direct descendants of David Crockett, and he had been president a couple of times. I'd helped him on that. We'd been to a few of the reunions, so I had a little bit of experience, but it wasn't until we moved back 10 years ago that we really jumped into Texas history. We go to the Alamo every year on the dawn for the dawn ceremony. We do the Texas Heroes Foundation stuff to celebrate Texas Independence Day. The the signing of the treaties of Velasco, so he also joined the Sons of the Republic of Texas. There was a time when he was involved with the Sons of the Confederate Veterans. We've also been involved with the Alamo Society and the Bridge Street History Center here. So we try to get in as much history as possible.
You seem to stay pretty busy doing that too, because it seems like you are always at a different event somewhere around the state.
Yeah, we're gradually adding more to it. He just joined the Travis Letter Society. He's been helping them read the Travis Letter at the openings when they're dedicating the Travis Letter at the courthouses. So I've gotten to go with him a couple times. We did the one in Granbury together, and we went to Pecos with him this summer. But yeah, that's Errol with the governor. Just I guess that was a couple of weeks ago, right before the dawn ceremony at the Alamo.
Okay, and so this was part of the Travis letter, the Alamo letter, ceremony with the governor.
Yeah, there was some kind of you know what? They were honoring some of the first people that I forget what they call them. But the first few people that were pushing with their counties to have the Travis letter put in. So
and tell us just
they honored the. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Tell us a little bit about the Travis letter. That was written from the Alamo, correct?
It was written from the Alamo. It was the last letter that Travis wrote before the fall of the Alamo. He was asking not only Sam Houston and the Texas Army, but he was asking everyone in the U.S., please send help. They knew that they were surrounded. They knew that they couldn't last much longer. It was a 13-day siege. And so they were looking for help. They needed help. There was only 189 men inside the Alamo walls against Santa Anna's troops of thousands.
They held off for a long time.
They did. 13 days.
And then to see how they got, Santa Anna got captured at San Jacinto, and I mean, they just kind of walked in on them and took them in the afternoon.
18 minutes.
Just don't want to. You better have somebody awake during the siesta time.
Yeah, for real.
Right. Well, I think those Texians were pretty upset about Goliad and the Alamo. The brutality that Santa Anna showed to the Texian army was enough to stir Sam Houston and his troops, that when they met at San Jacinto, it only took them 18 minutes.
But Goliad, there were about 400 that were executed there. Is that correct? Or
I'm actually not. I'm not as well versed on Goliad yet. I'm still working on it.
Okay, but I mean, they were very brutal, and I mean, just executed people and killed people, and just like the Alamo, they could have let some of those guys live, but they killed them all, and I guess they burned their bodies too.
They did, yes. Or they would just leave them there. Yeah, let the animals devour them. I mean, he had no mercy. I did find out something interesting. We were listening to a podcast. We love history. On our way back from Houston, and we were listening to this podcast about the angel of Goliad, and I had never heard of it, but I've always seen that angel on the statue. And so, I was thinking, I didn't know that there was, an actual person associated with this. But apparently, one of Santa Anna's generals, or one of the people in charge, brought his wife along, and her name was Fatima Alvarez. And during Goliad, when they had held the troops there, Fannin's troops, she was hiding them and was able to slip them out past the guards to save them. So she was able to save people, which is why she's called the Angel of Goliad. It was
And
pretty interesting.
it is. In your trips to the Alamo, are there some areas that y'all get to go to that the general public doesn't get to go to? I mean, like secret little chamber with for the families of the
No, I
descendants.
wish that'd be fun. No, but we do get some really good tours. We've got some really great historians that know a lot about the Alamo. We're involved with the Alamo Society. Um, so during the ceremony at the Alamo, they usually have a symposium right afterwards, and we usually stay. It's like an all-day thing, but it's all research based. I mean, they've done their research. They're writing books about it, or they're correcting other books about the history, and so it's a great learning experience. So to be able to walk around the Alamo grounds with people like that who know the history, they know the stones, they know what happened in every little place. It makes it more impactful.
I bet it does. This is
Yes, that's the
at the
Alamo
meeting, in it,
Society.
and it looks like you and Errol are right there, just on the right of that sign. He's in the red
Yes,
shirt.
yes,
Okay,
he is.
and he does. I guess you do some too. The reenactments.
He does most of the reenactments. I join in a little bit here and there wherever I'm needed, if I'm needed. Otherwise, usually when we're doing it, it's with the Texas Heroes Foundation, and I'm usually helping out with information. So I'm
Now,
pretty good at that, or pictures.
the
I can
Texas
take pictures for everybody.
the Texas Heroes Foundation, is that located? Where's that located? The main place, or is it just kind of people are everywhere?
Well, we're based here in Granbury, Texas.
Okay.
We're a 401c3, or I'm sorry, a 501c3. And it's our mission to educate individuals, to preserve Texas history, and to promote its richness.
And I've gotten to see the work that you do with the students, and it amazes me. Every year, Mary, they have the history fair, and these students, most of them are from the Granbury area, aren't they?
They
And
are.
they just, I mean, you have the grade school, the middle school, and the high school. There's papers, research papers they've done. There's little models and pictures they painted, and then all kinds of displays about the history. And what was the theme this year? I noticed that there were some things about suffrage and voting, and what was
Yeah.
your theme?
Our theme this year was rights and responsibilities in Texas history.
Okay, and
So we get our theme every year from the National History Day competition. And then we'll take it and make it so that it just fits Texas history.
because there were things about the Vietnam War. There were some things about the cattle industry, and of course, a lot about the Alamo and the different battles of the Revolution. And you were the chairperson of that fair, correct?
I am, yes.
Okay. And the students they deliver everything on Wednesday? And is that
So
when it's set up, or before?
yeah. So it's a week-long project. They'll bring in their projects well, the papers are turned in. So there's research and creative writing papers. So there's 5 categories: research and creative writing papers, exhibits, art, and performing arts. The papers are due about 2 weeks before, so that it gives the judges time to read them. But then the artwork, the exhibits, and the performances are done the Sunday and Monday prior to the awards ceremony. And then the awards ceremony is held on the Friday.
And the judges, you have different categories, so you have different judges that judge those categories.
Correct.
And then on Friday night, the People's Choice, I guess, the people that come to see the displays, they also vote. And then you have the award ceremony, and you have some cash awards that you give, or
Yeah. So we give out we have over $6,000 in awards and prizes every year to give out. We don't always get to give them all out, but for every category, there's also 3 divisions. There's an elementary division for 3rd through 5th, middle school, and then a high school division. So it's open to ages grades 3 through 12. So each division has the 3, each category has the 3 divisions. And in each division, there's a first, second, and third place prize. And then in art, exhibit, and performing arts, there's also a group prize for each division. So there's also a People's Choice Award, which you just said. People come in that Friday before the award ceremony and they get to vote for their favorite project. So the winner of the People's Choice Award is usually announced right at the end because the people in the back are tallying up all the votes. So it takes a while sometimes. We also have a senior scholarship. We have a Crockett Award that the Crockett family, us included, we all chip in and put together, some money and award it to, someone that we felt was deserving of it. We try to pick somebody that, hasn't been chosen for anything else. It started with actually Errol's grandfather. He came into one of the student history fairs when Peggy Freeman was running it, and he saw this, I think it was a doll, and this child wasn't going to win for her project, and he said, well, I just think it should have an award. And so from then on, the Crockett family has been giving an award during the student history fair. And I think that's all the awards that this year I brought back the Mel Birdwell Award. It's for students that have special needs. So we had Lake Point Academy join us this year, and so we were able to give the Mel Birdwell Award. It was something that was done in the past before I had taken over, and the year I took over, the next year was COVID, and Lake Point was not. I don't think they were functioning anymore after COVID, and I guess they disbanded for a while. So this was the first year they joined us again, and so we were able to bring that award back. But Mel Birdwell had sponsored in the past an award to a special needs child, and so we were so happy that we were able to bring it back, and we had Mel Birdwell there, able to present it to the student, and surprisingly, they had chosen a student that I had a couple years ago in my class.
She was excited to get it.
It was very exciting, very exciting.
And Miss Birdwell, she's the wife of Senator Birdwell, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him at different functions too. I think he's been to Wreaths Across Texas, and some of the DAR meetings I've attended with Elizabeth Crockett chapter. He's been there, and I think he was there the last time I took pictures at the fair. So he's very involved with the community.
He is. He does a great job.
And your daughter, Caitlin, she is a historian too, I guess. She knows a little bit about history. since she's
I
a
mean,
living
she would
part of
have
history.
to. She would have to. She's been coming since she was a baby, whether she liked it or not. She
And
used to
she,
sit at those symposiums that took all day with the Alamo Historical Society. She'd sit there and she'd just play games, we'd draw, but I'm sure it's sinking in.
she's won some awards too, hasn't she?
She won one. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, she's not a project person.
Yeah,
It's hard to get her to be interested in it. I think I get so busy during that time that she kind of just does her own thing.
and there's the stroll across Texas. You put that together every year. It's the third Friday and Saturday of May,
That's correct. Yeah,
and
so the Texas Heroes Foundation puts on the stroll through Texas history. Um, it's the third Friday and Saturday in May, usually around 10 to 4 p.m. It's right in front of the cemetery in Acton. Um, and uh, so what you'll see there is representatives from different eras of Texas history. So a lot of times we'll have, a lot of the Texas heroes from the Revolution period. And we've had people from the Texas Navy. We've had people from the Confederacy. Um, we have, let's see, we've got Native Americans. We have blacksmiths. We'll have Rangers, Texas Rangers. We try to get as many different eras of Texas history as possible to come and display things that you would see during that time, and then do some demonstrations as well, because Friday's event is for students to come, and so any school can join us. They can get in touch with us on our website, or they can email us at march2texas@gmail.com. It's the number 2. I don't think I gave you that information, but I can put that in the
we
chat
can
right
add
here.
that. And we can add that later.
I'll put it in the
But
chat
they
here.
have some reenactments too as part
We
of
do.
that.
We have reenactments. We'll have period music. We've had dulcimer bands in the past, fiddle players. It's just lots of fun. So Friday's the school event, and then Saturday is open to the public. It's free. It's a free event. So I would love to have everybody come, and you can always learn something about Texas history and what makes us so great. I mean, this is a very proud state, and we should be. We've got a lot of great history.
The you were mentioning that Friday is a school day where the schools come out, but that's open to all the students. I mean, in the Metroplex and surrounding areas, just like the Heroes uh, Fair that you had. That's you'd like to get more involvement, wouldn't you, from the Metroplex, or is that?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to get more involvement from the Metroplex. You know, anyone that wants to come, it's, we love to put this on, and I mean, it is our mission to educate. And so this is one of the ways that we do it. We have 3 different events. So it's the student history fair first, and then we do flags all up and down Fall Creek Highway in Acton, and each one of those flags represents a hero from the Texas Revolution, and that leads us up to the history stroll. And so I would love anybody to come. So if you have a school, or if you homeschool your kids, or you just want to bring your family out, we'd love to have you.
It's a good way to learn history. You mentioned that about the Texas Navy, because Texas used to have a Navy. I guess Texas really still has a Navy, because I don't go around telling people this, but I've been commissioned twice as an admiral in the Texas Navy, once by Governor Clements, and then another time by George Bush. So I am an admiral in the Texas Navy.
Wow.
So I've never been on a ship.
A couple of questions or things we might want to put out there is, so for folks that don't know where Acton is, they might look at this and go, well, I have no idea even where that is.
Yeah.
Because that's
So we're in
Granbury, right? It's right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the east side of Granbury.
Yeah. So for folks
So
that are
right as you're coming into Granbury.
Yeah. So you're not going to have to go down to the Alamo or down to San Antonio. This stuff is locally done. And so I think that a lot of this, if we have that information, we can put that out to all of our roll call members too, and put it on our Facebook page. The stuff that because, of course, our crowd is anywhere from currently serving to over 100 years old, and everything in between. So we certainly are happy to share any of the events that they can go to. And a lot of them are real history buffs. They really enjoy the history. But because I had no idea until, of course, today when that all this stuff is happening so close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So please share that with me so that we can make sure that we publicize that.
Yeah, I'll send that to you. And, Acton is right before you get into Granbury. Acton's just to the east. And does it have a highway number or?
It's Fall Creek Highway.
It's once you leave Benbrook, or let's see, I guess Whiskey
77.
Whiskey Flats is probably the last place to have a traffic light. So it's the first traffic light.
Actually, Crescent. Once you go over the overpass through Crescent.
Yeah. And so it's really the first traffic light you come to, and you'll see a sign that says Acton. And the Acton Cemetery, I think that little plot that the Crockett's have is actually a state park. It's like the smallest state park in Texas, but.
That's correct. Yes. It's actually Highway 4. It's called Fall Creek Highway here, but it's Highway 4. And
probably only about 3 or 4 miles before you get to the cemetery.
It's not far.
You can't miss it.
Not even 3 or 4 miles, maybe a mile.
Okay. Yeah. Do you participate in the stroll? I mean, do you teach some things or?
Well, usually I help out. I'll dress up sometimes. I'll put on a period costume. A lot of times I'm helping out with like the information and logistics. But last year I was able to portray Elizabeth Crockett with Errol. So that was fun for me. Just, playing a husband and wife as a husband and wife. So
that would be cool.
I love doing team things with him.
I'm going to share some of these pictures. And this is Sam Houston's statue. And you're on your way someplace or coming back from someplace.
Yeah, we were coming back from the DAR state convention. Errol just got honored for historical preservation from the DAR. So we were on our way back from that.
And the state convention, they get pretty serious at the state convention.
It sure was.
Yeah. I was at the state convention last year receiving an award, and I thought, they said it's a formal deal, so I had to get a tuxedo, and I thought they were just going to, give me a little plaque or something, but it was a big deal. I thought, oh my goodness. So the DAR does a great job. And this, we talked about this a while ago, the Alamo letter, or Travis letter. And here's you and Errol.
There.
Yep.
There's probably some places he can't get in with that musket, so.
Well, he hasn't had any problem yet, so.
And then that's the Alamo Historical Society. And there you are in some dressed up with a Model A Ford pickup.
And my daughter's sitting in the car. That was I think it was a General Granbury parade for the Sons of the Republic of Texas. They asked us to dress up and ride along with them, so we did.
One of our roll call members, he wrote a book. He did some research and wrote a book. That's Thomas Holder. I think it was about General Granbury. It was something about Granbury. So, he's done a lot of research and he's really into history too. So, and this is the Elizabeth Crockett's grave. And there you can see it's a pioneer woman. And I think you can't really tell from this picture, but doesn't she have her hand like this?
She does. She's looking west.
Okay.
So David went west, but we think that she's looking for him, but it is the pioneer woman, that determination, that courage that women had back then, and always going west. So that was her.
And that was
her gravestone.
That's Errol, and that's Carolyn, who was his cousin.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, they were laying wreaths during the Crockett Memorial. And it looks like,
who are these people? I see you and Errol, and
so Errol's mom is in the center.
Okay.
She's a third great grandson of David and Elizabeth, and then Peggy Freeman's off to the side, and she's the one that I took over from at the Texas Heroes Foundation as the Student History Fair coordinator.
How long have you been doing
we
that?
were at I'm trying to remember. It was a Veterans Day ceremony downtown in Granbury.
Is that at the
courthouse?
Okay.
And that's down at the Alamo. They've moved Crockett's statue a couple of times.
And who is this lady with you all?
So the lady in the middle is Peggy Freeman, and she was on the board for the Texas Heroes Foundation. She's the one I took over for. And then the little lady who's grown up now, that's my daughter, Kaylin.
There you are at the Alamo. She was a little bit younger then, wasn't she?
She was. We didn't get a good picture this year, so.
That's at the Alamo too, isn't it?
That's Alan West.
And Taft. They're actually working on that right now.
And that's Alan West with you.
That is.
Yeah.
And that's Carolyn Cotton, Errol's cousin, Crockett cousin. And then another Crockett cousin on the other side of him.
Alan West is, he went to the University of Tennessee, so he's always talking about one of the volunteers from Tennessee to come to Texas to try to straighten things out. It's like Davy Crockett. And then this is what we talked about, the stroll through Texas. So a lot of stuff that you do and Errol does to help teach others about our history. And there's a young lady that comes to roll call, and the Elizabeth Crockett chapter of the DAR had her come and speak last year, or I think it was around Christmas time. Her name's Liberty Phillips. I don't know if you and Errol were there or not. You might have been. And she's got a program called Bridge to History, where she takes young people like from about 8 to 11, takes them to London and then to Normandy to study D-Day and World War II. And,
Wow.
you know, that's kind of modern history compared to what you and all your organizations are doing to promote the Texas history and to honor those men and women that sacrificed so much so we could have a great state. Is that Errol back there?
It is. He's coming in to join us.
Hey, how are you, Errol?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. We've been visiting a lot about all the things you do. This is Mary Staffeld. Mary is a Air Force veteran too, so y'all have some stuff in common.
Yeah, you though.
Let me pull up a.
And I've been to McGuire several times. I taught several classes there in the recent past, in the last 10 years.
And for y'all that are just joining us or wonder who this guy is, this is Errol Flannery, and he's the fourth great-grandson of David and Elizabeth Crockett. So he's a direct descendant, just a little part of living history right here. So, and very important, David Crockett, along with other heroes at the Alamo, are very important to Texas and our state.
Yeah, I don't look anything like David in real life, but I do the best I can when I do the impression.
Well, I think you do pretty good. You look pretty good for Davy Crockett.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah, tell us just a little bit about some of the things you do to tell others and teach others about our history.
Well, Heather and I work really closely together on the Texas Heroes Foundation, and that's really near and dear to our hearts. So portraying Crockett primarily for children, school children, and programs. I have recently been portraying Crockett and reading the Travis letter through the Alamo Letter Society program. Just volunteer work to go around to different counties when they're conducting their ceremonies to install the bronze plaques of the famous Alamo letter, the victory or death letter. So I go to those ceremonies and read those. I've done 3 or 4 of those now. I've gone to I think you've mentioned it already. I've gone to the state capitol, read the letter for the governor. That was a really powerful moment for all of us. And also, I've got one coming up in the next month, actually on San Jacinto Day, near Beaumont, down in Hardin County. So that's something
that's close to San Jacinto, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
Beaumont.
It is. Yeah, and I've enjoyed doing that, but I also do programs as myself, just history programs about the Crockett family or about history in general. Anytime I can get somebody to invite me to come do a program for them, I'll do it. Usually it's for one of the lineage organizations like the SRT, DRT, DAR, SAR, Sons of the Confederate Veterans. Anybody that has a group that's interested in history and wants to learn a little bit about something that I know something about, I'm happy to share with them and talk to them because I think it's important that we talk about our patriotic values, the things that provide commonality across our country, the founding fathers' history all the way up to current events. It's important for us to talk about that and share the things that we have in common, and talk about where the things that we did or have been done to get us to where we are today. And my goal is to just continue to share that with people so that we can learn from the past, learn about the rich history of our country, the rich heritage that we share, the diversity of our country, and again, where what's happened in the past to get us to where we are, because we need to understand that in order to make the future a brighter place to live for future generations. So that's my goal, kind of my mission when I'm not doing my normal day job That's what I'm passionate about, what I like to do.
Yeah, because people don't really realize sometimes about the sacrifices that our founding fathers made. The men that fought in the Revolutionary War, or in Texas, the Texas Revolution, and how, I mean, war is a horrible thing, and to think about the hardships and the sacrifices and the death to those that were fighting for what they thought was right. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, we talk about war, and we talk about the difficulties and the controversies of men, but we also share about the everyday livelihoods of all people, men, women, children, the difficulties that they faced, which we really have no idea of, just a hint of, really, because they didn't have the infrastructure that we have today. They didn't have public schools and hospitals and first responders at our beck and call. Uh, things like all the entertainment things that we have today that we take for granted. They didn't have any of that. They had to make it all for themselves on a day-to-day basis, and each meal was a struggle to find and to make, and just every day was really a sacrifice just to survive. They had no concept of retirement, going on vacation, those kind of things that we all tend to take for granted. At least I do. And I really appreciate having those things. And I know that we stand on their shoulders to have the things that we have. And so I think that we all need to understand that and respect it and appreciate it. And again, there's good things about it and there's bad things about it. You mentioned war. Not everybody was a solid stand-up citizen. We've all got people in our family tree that maybe we wish weren't there, but it's a part of who we are. Got us to where we are today, and we need to at least understand that and appreciate that, even if we don't respect it, because we can learn from the good things in our society and the bad things in our society. But yeah, just everyday life in the past, just for me, is really interesting. Um, but there's a lot to learn too.
As a young child, when did you really realize the importance of your great 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 grandfather and grandmother? I mean, how old were you?
Well, I guess I knew they were famous. I guess growing up in the generation that I grew up and Heather grew up, everybody's heard of Davy Crockett and thinks of the Disney character. And so you kind of know he's famous if you believe he was a real person when you're that age. And so once you get past that, um, I guess I always knew he was famous, but I didn't really understand the depth of that and the reasons why. Oh, I was probably much older, probably in my early 20s, really, before I started really understanding what that meant and why it's important, and really thinking about and asking the questions. And it's probably because other people asked me, why is that important? Well, I needed to come up with an answer. So I started doing my own research, and that's when I started understanding, why that's important. It's not important so much that he's a famous man, and nobody outside of the family pretty much can name one of his two wives or knows that he had two wives, or any of his children. They weren't famous. Um, but it's the struggles that they all went through, and they represent the other citizens, the unnamed citizens that lived around them. And David was in politics for a long time, and
He was a
as a
he
as a
was a congress.
politician, he represented his constituents.
Okay, he was a
So those are
congressman
the
from
people that,
Tennessee.
yeah, yeah, he was a well. He started out as a justice of the peace, and he liked to say he didn't know what he was doing, but he knew how to fake it really well. But he just used common sense, and that got him liked well enough to where he eventually got elected as the colonel of his militia unit. So that was his second political position, and then eventually he became a state representative in Nashville. And then in 1827, he was finally elected to the U.S. Congress. He served 3 terms in the House of Representatives. His voting record isn't necessarily touted as somebody that was necessarily politically effective, because he was always going against Andrew Jackson. He kind of cut against the grain, but he voted his conscience, So personally, I'm really proud of his political standing. He used to say, he's a man of principles. He follows principles and not men. I think we could use a little bit more of that today, than just trying to go where the wind blows you, or go with
or,
the flow, so to speak.
Mhm.
Um,
or how your party votes.
yeah,
They don't
exactly.
vote their conscience so much anymore.
No,
So
no, but that does have a tendency to get you kicked out pretty fast. He only served 3 terms, and he lost his bid for reelection to the fourth, and that's when he came to Texas. But by the time he did that, he was already famous. He didn't need to die at the Alamo to be famous in the United States. We probably still remember him today because of that.
do
But
you believe that he really killed a bear when he was only 3?
hey, why not? I love the
Anything's
song.
possible, Rick.
Anything's possible. That's right.
That's what the song says, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot of problems with that song. It starts out he was born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, and neither one of those things is true. Actually, he was uh, he was born in what is now Tennessee, but at the time it was the lost state of Franklin, that which only existed for 4 years. So I like to tell that little detail. But that was 10 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. George Washington hadn't even been elected president for his first term yet, when David was born. So the country was really new, and anything was possible then. And David serves as proof of that, because he only got 4 days of school as a boy, and that didn't happen until he was 13 years old. Um, and he didn't get more because of his own fault. He ran away from home, but he made it all the way to the U.S. Congress with that. But through a lot of hard work and sweat, he later on, as a young man, he got some education from the Quakers that he worked for. But before that, I mean, he didn't have means. There was no reason in the world for him to reach any kind of height of success, except that he lived in the United States of America.
And when he came to Texas, was he just coming as a volunteer to help in the
No,
revolution, or was he just moving here to kind of check Texas out? Or
well, it kind of depends on who you ask. The experts that I talk to, and I believe from my own research, is that and if you read his letter, you can and read into it, you can kind of see it. He was coming here to find a home site for himself and his family, because he wanted to resettle in Texas. Texas, of course, was a different country at that time. He was washed up in U.S. politics, and he was ready for a fresh start. And he was used to moving west to get a new start every time. And Texas was calling pretty much everybody. You could see GTT on all the doors. He knew a lot of people that already relocated. He had a lot of friends down here, and so it was kind of a natural progression for him to try out Texas and see what he might be able to do. I think he had his sights set on being president of Texas, or at least somebody in political realm of Texas. But when he got here, he got caught up in all the hoopla about what was going on with the Mexican government, and he was famous, and so I think everybody probably expected him to join the army, and he didn't want to disappoint his friends and future constituents. So he joined up, became a volunteer, and they sent him down to the Alamo right off the bat.
Oof.
there's not much telling what his path might have taken had he not gone to the Alamo.
I think
I mean,
so. I mean,
he could have well
again,
been the president of Texas.
could have been.
Maybe
And he
kept
was
us out of
friends
the
with
United
Sam Houston.
States.
So there weren't that many people here, right? There were about 30,000 people in Texas at that time, 30,000 Anglos. Um, so the sky was the limit.
We have something both in common because my ancestors came from Tennessee also to Texas. I think my great 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 grandfather uh, stole a horse and headed west. So,
Ah,
but
You come by it honestly then.
yeah,
mm,
but it's just great to live in a state like Texas because you think about those people that laid down their lives and sacrificed so much, and to follow a vision to have a country like Texas that later became a state. the Texans. I saw or read something about my friends from Ohio, and I always kind of say it was him, but he said, whenever I lived up north, I had nothing to brag about. I came down to Texas, now I have something to brag about. So,
Yeah, we're pretty proud of it. I mean, New Yorkers have their "I Love New York" T-shirt, with the heart on it, and I think we have everything else. So
yeah, that's right.
we like our armadillos and our boots and our Alamos and our country western musicians, cowboy hats, and all that. But Texas is unique in that regard. I mean, we all have heard of the Six Flags over Texas. That's because of the six nations um, that Texas belonged to over that period of time. And it's a transnational borderlands region. There aren't that many of those in the world where you've got this amalgamation of multiple cultures: Spanish, Mexican influence, French, Germans came here,
Scandinavians.
Scandinavians,
Yeah.
We're made up of
the African
immigrants.
American cultures all come together and create delicious food and great music and all kinds of unique things that come from that sharing of human existence that doesn't exist anywhere else. So we have a right to be proud, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
I deployed to Germany in 2009, and I went to Paris, and they still had the flag, the Texas flag, outside the Texas embassy
Wow.
at the time. I don't know if it's still there today, but it was there when I went in 2009.
Wow.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet they're flying it proudly.
Yeah, because
It's one of the only states where you can go around the world and somebody asks you where you're from, and you can say Texas, and they know right where that is, or they've heard of it before.
there's only two kinds of people: Texans and those who wish they were, right?
My husband always says he was taught in grade school, that they were going to learn some history about Texas and then some other countries. So from then on, it was,
I love that.
Texas is a country. So
Well, this is the Texas Heroes Foundation. Here's their website. Is there a way to make donations through that website?
Yes, we have a sponsor page on our website.
Okay.
So that's a great way to connect with us. We also have a Facebook page, Texas Heroes Foundation. But yeah, we'll definitely accept donations and support. We really are looking for volunteers or folks that are interested in finding out more information about us and sending us to your school kids so you can learn a little bit of Texas history. And again, I mean, we do it in a fun way. We believe that, history is best learned through experiences and sharing the stories about real people and not so much learning dates and names and places. And that's kind of, that when I was growing up, that's the way history was taught to me. And I thought I didn't like history. And then I find out, well, history is really just the story of everything. It's what's happened in the past about everything in our lives as humans. And so it's all how you present the information. So the Texas Heroes Foundation tries to do a good job of presenting it in a fun, unique, and interesting way so that people can really absorb that and understand what it means.
And to start with the children, I think that's so good to start teaching them about history, and maybe they'll develop a love for history and investigating more about what's happened and why we're here and why our country's like it is, why our state's like it is. So it's a very important part of life.
No argument here.
That's our goal.
We thank you all so much for being on the Hometown Heroes podcast. And I just appreciate all that you and your family does to preserve history, and especially our state history. So, and I hope soon that our paths will cross again. I'm going to try to get down there for this stroll across Texas. So try to get down there and see that, and maybe bring the world's greatest grandson named Sterling and the world's greatest grandson named Connor so they can get a big dose of some Texas history. Maybe, Mary, you can bring some of your grandkids down.
yeah, I got a few of them. But I was thinking too, it might be kind of neat, if you have, a Friday, the fourth Friday of some month open, maybe we could work out having you come and share some of the history with our roll call people. We got 25, 30 minutes that, we can have some sharing going on there. There might be some folks really, really interested. Like
I'm
I
sure
said,
there
ours range from currently serving to over 100. We don't have kids, but they're all kids at heart, and they do love. I mean, we tell stories. That's what we do at a roll call lunch, and we tell stories.
It's on the west of Fort Worth in Willow Park, over in Parker County.
In August, we'll move back, so it would be back
Yeah.
at Birchman by then.
Over on the west side of Fort Worth, but we run right at 500 people. Probably 80%, 90% are veterans, and others are supporters. So we'd love to have y'all come up and visit us and make a presentation. So I'll get
Been a yarn with you anytime.
okay,
And it,
and I'll
and-
get you and Mary connected with email, and we can find a time to put y'all on the calendar. So.
That'd be great.
Thank y'all so much for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, Rick
All right.
and Mary. Thank you. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Y'all
See y'all
too.
down the road.
Okay,
Bye,
thank
guys.
you,
Thanks.
Mary. That was very interesting.
That is really neat. You think about somebody can reach back in their history that far back. I can't do that. All my great grandparents all came over late on the Surma side, the late 1800s. I'm hearing as my cousin Joe is doing that work, and on my mom's side, on the Scoba side, they came over in the early 1900s. So it's kind of interesting to hear from people that that have been here that long.
And then
All those stories.
To think about those heroes, the heroes that fought and sacrificed, and many of them died well over 100 years ago. 100 and however many, 200 years. I don't have my math cap on, but it's been a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
1836, and it's kind of a new adventure for us with Hometown Heroes, because we've always just kind of concentrated on World War II on up to the present day, and then to have a direct ancestor of Davy Crockett, who is certainly a hero for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And was a hero for the country. So
yeah, and he can share the history. Him and his wife both can share the history so well that it's like they're giving you almost firsthand just from all the research they've done. So they're telling you things that you're not going to read in a history book, which is the beauty of learning the history that way. Is in the history book they only give you so much. And
then they're around other historians all the time with these different societies that they go to, and they pick up more and more that they can share. So
yeah, really neat.
It is.
Yeah.
This next week, Friday, we have roll call, and reservations. There's probably not any left, is there?
No, the reservations filled up already, but we do have, I went through the roster today, and I've got probably a good 20 that are duplicates. So I probably have about 20 seats that I can fill. I didn't count them, but I'm guessing by looking at the roster that it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 20. So if there's somebody out there that still would like to join us, they just need to contact us through the info@roll-call.org. And we'll get we'll see if we still have some of those seats left, and we can slide them in there. And then next week, as we get into the week, we always end up with those cancellations, people that get sick, or an appointment pops up especially with the VA. It's usually a VA appointment because, those are hard to get. When they get them, they can't really turn them down. So some cancel out for those reasons, but just email us at info@roll-call.org, and we will get see what we can do to work out getting you in there. But yeah, we filled up 480 seats in a very short period of time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
This next week is at the opening of the Medal of Honor Museum.
Monday, today. Well, this show is airing on the 25th, so it's today, right? I can't keep my days straight. Yeah. So today, the museum
tonight
to the public, and the 25th through the 28th is free for veterans, and I'm pretty sure for their families. But look that up to make sure that I'm not telling you a lie. There's a lot of stuff on Facebook about it. But the 25th through the 28th specifically free for veterans. And you want to get out there and take advantage of going to see that museum, because we got to see it when it was being built a couple of different times. We got to tour it as it was being built. And I know, Rick, you and I were just in awe of it. It's really spectacular. Really.
And then to have so many of the living Medal of Honor recipients there, it's going to be a real treat.
Yes.
In April, the Fort Worth or the Air Power Foundation is going to have a special reception on a Sunday afternoon, and I'll list the dates on my Facebook.
April 13th. Yeah.
And that's going to be a real treat. I think they'll have about 6 or 7 Medal of Honor recipients to kind of have a little maybe question and answer time, and a chance to honor those Medal of Honor recipients. So a lot of stuff kind of happening, but then it looks like things kind of wind down a little bit toward June or July, whenever there's not any board meetings for the organizations that I'm with, and no roll call. So
yeah, I think July is kind of the quietest month of the year, because it's, so many people have plans and vacations and what have you. So most of us try not to schedule things during those months to allow people to, not have to choose between one or the other. But, certainly a lot going on. July and August are always a little bit more quiet. I think when it gets as hot as it gets in July and August, people are really out on doing very much. But yeah, up until then, we're going to be pretty busy. I know on Facebook, I put out a couple of different posts recently, and one was Don's birthday party, so folks can go out. And I know I put a link or sent a link, and some folks have said, well, the link doesn't work. Well, all you got to do is type in that Eventbrite email into your browser, and you can get to the RSVP for Don's birthday. And the RSVP is not, there's no cost to attend his birthday. The Hearsay, where the event is, Hearsay Arlington, is just trying to gather that information so they know about how much food to prepare. So there will be appetizers and non-alcoholic beverages available at no cost. But if people want a different meal, or they want a bar, a drink from the bar, those will be available at each individual's cost. I can't confirm nor deny whether or not you will have to pay for parking. There will be valet available, but there is a Rangers game that night. So I can't swear on my life that they won't charge for parking in the lot. We're hoping they're not at that hour. That's why we moved it to 12 to 3 for Don's party, but that's out there. And along with a couple other things. So folks, go out and check out our Facebook page. I keep posting neat information. Like I just posted about, you can go, if you're a veteran, active duty, Purple Heart, 100% disabled, former POW, you can go stay at the resort there in Hawaii, right on the beach. And it's relatively inexpensive, and you don't pay the taxes and the hotel fees, the resort fees, or any of that. And they've got like 4 different locations of different resorts, along with all kinds of other information places you can stay. So check out our Facebook page. We try to post useful information.
And just a reminder, roll call is actually this week on Friday and not next week on Friday. So
28th.
The 28th is coming up.
So. Yes, it is. And the food's always good. And if if you are coming and you're going to let me know you would like to come. Also, let me know if you need a meatless option, because we are still during Lent. So we will be offering a meatless option to those that are not eating meat on Fridays right now during Lent.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, this was an enjoyable podcast. I had some interesting things about the state of Texas and Davy Crockett. So, Mary, thank you so much for being with me tonight to do this podcast, and thank everybody that's watching. I keep saying tonight. But thank everybody that's been a part of this, and we'll see you next week on Hometown Hero.